So what I do need to know is, wait, you didn't roll down to give me an idea.
Of what's going on.
I'm not sure what you want
What
me
she,
to say.
yeah, what even is going on. You have no idea what's even going on yet, is that right? For the most part.
Yeah.
And you've heard stories a little bit. You've heard stories of me mentioning that there have been sub-issues with my mom within the relationship that I've had with my mom and I.
Yeah.
You understand that you don't see me involved in her life and that she's not directly involved in mine.
Yeah.
This has been going on for over 2 years now. Really, there have been issues for much longer, and the issues kept getting worse and worse and worse. Okay? Today is October 9th. Saturday, no, not October 9th, what am I saying? October 26th. October 9th was when the problem happened of 2022 that year. So we're about 2 years and a couple weeks of major problems. Okay? It's Saturday, October 26th, 2024. I'm recording this video. I've been recording a lot of videos and uploading them onto my channel. Videos that are numbered, that are included within a special certain playlist, that have been all made for a specific purpose of what? Facilitating unity, which looks like what? This is the teaching. This is the teaching of Hashem, basically. It really is as simple as this. Here is the most recent email that I got from my mom. She simply sends me, this is not solicited, but it's implicit response to something else that I sent her recently, okay? So we're going to start out this way. We're going to start out with the naive examination. It's the kind of examination that has a witness who doesn't know any better go, oh, and then you come up with your own native idea. I didn't even open this, I just saw this. She sends me a YouTube link. Watch the video. She's sending me a video to watch. Unsolicited links. Young men, never harm your mother. If you just see this and you're a fly on the wall, what do you imagine in your mind is going on? This young guy must be harming his mother. See? So now we extend this and we say, okay, so either one of two things is happening. Either this is genuine mother who's in the right, who's sending some email to her son, never harm your mother, because the son's the bad guy and he's harming his mother, apparently, of course, hearsay. Or there's a second thing going on. That actually, this is the actual wrongdoer here that you're looking at. I'm not even going to open this link or entertain watching this. Because this is all woman's attempts at frame control. Deep, desperate attempts at frame control. The type of woman who doesn't understand, I have to admit when I'm wrong. Instead, they will die first. Like men will die before they admit they're in defeat. But when a woman adopts this is the twist. This is Lilith. Satanic Lilith. But today, almost every woman has become satanic Lilith. It's the inversion. It's the sickness of Satan. This is the deep Yetzer Hara. And women don't even know they're operating out of the Yetzer Hara, which is the Lilith capacity. Repossessing the Chava in the programming. Sick stuff. But right now, all you see is this. Right? I'll also say, in addition, I'm going to pull out something right now. I just pulled out this yellow envelope from my bag right now. Do you see it's sealed or open? Because I haven't opened it. You see what this says? First she wrote private and confidential. Then I rejected it. I brought it back to her place. She crossed it out. She gave it to me again. And she says, I want you to read this. This is an apology letter from me to you, my son. I want you to read this. You saw this earlier today, right?
Yeah.
And when you saw this, what did you say to me in instinctive response? Do you remember? You said, "Oh, open it. Open it."
Yeah.
It's true. This is the normal, it's not an abnormal response. This is a normal but naive response to any situation. When you examine the situation, what? As they say in Latin, prima facie, which means on the face of the situation, it looks like, if you don't know anything else, it just looks like, oh, if you get a letter from your mom and it's an apology letter, you should open it. Generally, that seems to be the general indication on the face of the matter, right? It's true. That's why he said, oh, a letter from your mom. You haven't opened it for a month? Open it, she urges me. Nothing wrong with that when you don't know any better. When you see an email like this, watch, young men, never harm your mother without knowing anything else. Oh, he's harming his mother. See the sickness? If it is sickness, it's really sick. But on the face of it, if you don't know any better, you go, oh, maybe he did something wrong. Is it true? Exactly. At least you're smart enough to shrug your shoulders and say, I don't know. Because you realize you don't understand, you don't have enough information. Okay?
That's what I was telling you. I don't have enough information.
The smartest thing you know, Socrates, the smartest person in the world, said that the only thing I know is that I know nothing. See? So we're going to start to take a look at everything here in this situation that's most important, because I'm tired of going back and forth one-on-one with this woman. But you see this? I want you to step into my shoes for a second. Look at this email that's on our screen here. I want you to really put yourself into a man's position who's in my shoes, and knowing as little as you do. Now I'm going to be a little more fully candid. About a couple months ago, I gave you a general, like a brief story of like a light summary of basically what's happened over the last couple of years, right? You remember? Over the summer, I've told you stories. When my mom used to just call the police for non-sufficient reasons, exaggerated reasons that are inappropriate contextually. And then, in October 2022, when she did it again, I was screaming at her on the phone and getting pissed as a result of what she said. And then she called and tried to have me, and she successfully had me put in a mental hospital. I told you this story. And that, but not in super deep detail, but a little bit deep. And then I told you, since then, my friend Anthony became involved as a witness. After over a year of him carefully listening to both sides and being an intermediary, he came to the conclusion, and he was actually a little bit surprised. He said, initially, he was speaking to me, said, initially, I thought I was going to side with your mother because, it's your mother. He said, after a year, I was surprised. You're right, John. She's wrong. The witness has spoken. Did she accept it? No. She had him involved initially against my wishes. She just reached out to him and started poisoning his mind with Lashon Hara. See the problem? Let me teach you about Lashon Hara a little bit. Okay. Now, between you and me, and this is a little bit more, for us, it's kind of personal, you're aware of some interesting things. My mother has not been explicitly informed or notified about certain things we've been discussing. You've been aware of this. I'll just show you a little piece.
In fact, by the way, you pray for the Mashiach Yosef 3 times a day. I don't know if you know that. You know that?
And that whole thing, right? So I'm working on some videos here. You're aware of what this is in connection to. Never mind that subject for now, but I want to skip ahead because there's one piece here that I actually didn't watch. This gets very interesting, and I really want to feature this because it's very, very important. Here we go. This is part of the video I'm going to be releasing soon. Okay? You got to get it. So, let's watch carefully.
There's another rabbinical statement in the Medrash, and it says the following. God says, I can save you. I can save you from any tragedy, any calamity, any problem. But on one condition, do not speak Lashon Hara. This is what God himself says. The question that we have to ask ourselves is, why? Why is it that God says that if you do not speak slander or Lashon Hara, that he will remove or minimize the problems that you have? This is the question that we must ask. The definition is as follows. Any communication that will harm another person, that is the definition of Lashon Hara. That's what it is. And make no mistake, it doesn't make a difference how you communicate. You speak Lashon Hara, you can even do what? You can write Lashon Hara, or whatever. If you communicate something that harms another person, that is Lashon Hara. And by the way, even if that statement is true, in fact, especially if that statement is true, it is Lashon Hara. If that statement is...
It doesn't matter whether it's true or whether it's...
false, then it is worse than slander. So the...
Either way. This connects to Black Law's dictionary, an old traditional Anglo-American legal dictionary that we have in use. The correct definition of defamation or slander is simply what? The taking of one's reputation, period, by any act. If anything that you do has the effect of causing any individual in life they're caused to take on a naturally lowered esteem of you because of what someone else did or said or gestured or anything, that's Lashon Hara. You would agree? Doesn't matter if it's true or not true. There's only one exception. If you're properly, with moral jurisdiction, permitting someone to come in as a witness to an ongoing matter where you have jurisdiction as the actual real victim, as a judge. If not, you're guilty. Continue.
Talmud says, what is the greatest of all sins? The truth is, you know. The Talmud says that the greatest of all sins is speaking Lashon Hara or slander. That's incredible. Could you imagine? How is it possible that the greatest of all sins is speaking slander? You mean to tell me that speaking slander is even worse than desecration of the Sabbath? How can that be?
And let me give you another version of what Lashon Hara is. Because Lashon Hara could be spoken, it could be written, it could be gestured, or it could be induced due to action. You know what a substantive Lashon Hara is? Call the police on your son when he doesn't deserve it, so that everyone in the building sticks their heads out the windows and they're watching police come to this apartment and drag a guy out. That's Lashon Hara.
When did that happen?
Because multiple times, I've told you the story. And to make it clear, this beautiful woman that I'm sitting here next to, she has a little bit of a memory issue. Like me, there are two people with memory issues that have found each other in this life. So sometimes she forgets a lot, and me a little bit too. I told you some stories over the summer. Maybe I'll tell you again. So that they're very interesting. And they're so long, I might not record them all, but trust me, I've covered them a lot in my other videos, and yeah, maybe I'll make a more clear video too, or just otherwise tell the story. But for now, we could agree that even that gesture constitutes Lashon Hara. Because you're inducing other people by your action to take on a lowered esteem of someone, where in actuality, by God's eye vision, is not right. You're guilty. We continue.
And I want to tell you something. The rabbis don't exaggerate merely to win a point. Of course not. If this is what they say, then this is exactly what it means. Achov, he was Ahab. He was a king in Israel for many years. And it says that in the generation of Achov or Ahab, that the Jews worshipped idol. All the Jews worshipped idols. This is what it says. And therefore, as a result of that, because they worshipped idols, of course, it was a tremendously sinful generation. Yet that statement in the Medrash says that when they went to battle, they never lost a battle, not once. So this Medrash says how is it possible? Is because in the entire generation of Achov, nobody spoke Lashon Hara. Do you believe this? It's hard to understand how that could be, that they worship idols, yet they do not speak Lashon Hara. But that's what it says. That because they did not speak slander, they never lost a battle. That is absolutely incredible. Why? That is the question we must ask. And it says in the same place that in the generation of Shaul by King David, that the Jews lost battle after battle. Even though the average child in that generation was able to expound or sermonize on a particular pasuk or verse 49 different ways. Yet it says that they lost battle after battle. Why? Because they spoke Lashon Hara or slander. Do you believe this? If you think that you understand what the concept of Lashon Hara or slander is, you are gravely mistaken. That a person's personal mazel is destroyed because of Lashon Hara. That's right. That means when a person speaks slander, that actually destroys his luck, his fortune. But what did I say? I said that the greatest way, of course, to avoid judgment, right, is to avoid the whole concept of prosecution, to stop the Satan. But how do we stop the Satan? This is the question. I will tell you. Imagine, this is a courtroom, right? And in here, you're sitting, your soul is sitting, and in front of you, there's this awesome angel. Who is this angel? The Satan, that angel, that of course is a prosecuting attorney. He is sitting there and he's prosecuting you, right? What is the Satan doing? Well, he's doing exactly what he's doing. He's prosecuting you, correct? But wait a minute, what is the nature of every prosecution? I will tell you. You remember, it's Lashon Hara, it's slander. Do you remember what the definition of slander was? The definition of slander is any communication that will harm another person. That is the definition of slander.
That is, again, to clarify, anything that has the effect of inducing a harm, injury, or more specifically, indignation to a person by the reputation or the effect that you have on them through life because of what you did.
Therefore, the Satan has the right to condemn you because every condemnation is really a prosecution. Just like measure for measure can what? Can stop the judicial process, I had previously mentioned. It can also initiate the judicial process, measure for measure.
And remember this, by the way, what he's mentioning here, and I'll bring it up again soon, measure for measure. Even in the New Testament, Jesus says the same thing. Measure for measure is how God works, and in no other way.
What does that mean? It means the following. Imagine you walk over to a person and you start speaking Lashon Hara or slander. What are you really doing? You are condemning that person. Therefore, measure for measure, because you condemn another person, therefore the Satan has the right to condemn you.
So what the Mashiach ben Yosef said is the relationship that I will now have with the Satan, because his shirish is connected, his root soul is connected to the root soul of the Satan.
Everybody will be drawn to him. That's how he does his job. As you will see. And because we don't know about this idea, the Satan dances on our heads. Exactly.
Figure it out.
But there seems to be a level that's beyond the Ruah. It's the Torah of the Nun Sharabina.
Okay, now returning to this. While this particular email is not, strictly speaking, an instance of Lashon Hara, it is nevertheless an attempt to avoid a true finding of guilt. This is a way of her attempting to invert the schema, because all they want to do is avoid judgment when they're doing wrong. But what? God says we test you once to see if you are sorry for your sin once you receive the rebuke. We're gonna look and see, is this right? Is this valid? And before we do this, we'll also mention this letter here. I'm holding this in my hand. You see this yellow envelope?
Yeah.
You implored me that I should open this, yeah? Well, I'm going to let you know now, I'm not opening it yet. It's sealed here for over a month. And in fact, there's a reason why this isn't opened yet. So now we're going to examine the longer story to see at the end, once we see the whole set of circumstances, then the jury or the judge can make the judgment correctly in this life and see, is this right that I keep this closed, or should I be opening it now? Firstly. And secondly, this email, is this email that she sent here, is this good that she sends this? I want you to step in, you don't know much about the details yet, but for now, step into her position in her mind, but adopt the way that a woman like her is thinking. What is she likely thinking if you can channel it for us? I'm going to send my son this. Why? What imaginings do you have? What do you think you're going to effectuate? There must be something. Imagine how these people operate. Think for a moment. She has something in her mind. Because the most important thing, and mind you, she grew up what she believes is godly. In a vague, godly, supposed way. I might disagree, but she would say otherwise, that she grew up with a God consciousness from young age, of course. That's how Polish people grow up anyway, whether it's one religion or another. So in her mind, she believes she's always doing right. These are the most difficult people sometimes to reorient. So she imagines this. She's going to say, I'm going to send him this, so that's good. When God sees me send this, that is him being happy. I'm supposed to put a link in this email and send this to him now. That's good, right? Is it good? What effect does this have? That's how to begin to understand whether something is good or not. So she thinks, that's one aspect of it. She naively thinks this is in alignment with God, number one. Number two, she naively, almost certainly naively believes that sending this will somehow practically, as a practical matter, completely apart from right or wrong, but practically speaking, that, oh, I'm going to receive this, I'm going to open it, I'm going to, oh, young men never harm my mother. Oh, that means I harm my mother. If she says that, then, oh, okay, I'm bad. Okay, my mommy's good. Do you think that's what's going to happen? The man is 36 years old. I think we grew some brain cells. At around the age of 14 and a half or 15 was the age I realized I was more intelligent than my mother. Around that age, similar age is when it happens. Every man just kind of looks and they just go, oh, you're fucking human and dumb. Always around that age. Because especially the man's mind, it overtakes the woman's mind at around that age. It's just natural. It happens then. That's not the point. The other point is this. Is that what's really happening? Is this a valid attempt, a valid thing to send, or is this indignation? Let's look at the effect that this actually has. If you're a man who's arguing with your mother, but you're actually in the right, and mind you, every Talmudic source I can find, just about every single one agrees. They say, if your own parent even is guilty of wrongdoing, you no longer owe them honor. And that is correct. That is a correct Talmudic finding. Because if the opposite was true, that would give parents immunity forever. But God can't have that. No one gets immunity forever. Because that would make God anoint someone who's exempt from God. God will never do that to himself. To give humans the power to cut him off from those people? It will make monsters if you do that. You agree? You're shaking your head. Yes, I see it. Okay. So when you send something like this to a man who not only knows he's right, but had a witness who was involved, who initially was actually biased in favor of the mother, believe it or not, who then, after watching both, and he refused to just listen to one side, he always went to both sides, and then he said, now I see finally. It took him a long time. Yeah. You're right, John. Of course I'm right. And then even here, she's trying to do what? Does this look like admission of guilt or deflection? Sending this kind of email. You don't know the context even which when this happened. You don't know what she's responding to when she's writing this, which are going to be shown shortly. But does this look like admission of guilt, like a true repentance. Let me establish the context again. There's a letter here. Apparently it's an apology email, quote unquote. And imagine big, thick apology quotes. Apology. But if someone's sorry, are you both remorseful, regretful for the wrong that you did and sending something like this? As shown on the screen.
Well, she has no clue that you haven't opened that.
No, she does. She does. So I didn't tell you the full story. She knows. I actually told her. Okay?
That you haven't opened.
Yes, so she's aware. Okay? So before we speak a little louder, because this microphone is very clogged. You see this? Speak loud. So if this supposed letter is her actually being, let me put it to you another way. Informed, someone says, I'm sorry, but in actual reality, are they actually remorseful and regretful for the real thing they did because they have shame about the wrong that they know they did, that they admit they did by confession? No, so people just go, I'm sorry, but they're arrogant. They're not really sorry. They cut it immediately. So the test all of life, everyone's been tested in this way. They want to say sorry. Okay, is your heart actually sorry? We test. I look at the heart, not your stupid lips. Every human being has lying lips. So when they want to show a fake apology, we just do a test. And now here on the screen, what do you see? Does this look like an apologetic woman? By the feel of it. Does a sorry woman send this? In life, generally. No. Yeah, you're right. No. So she cancels her own showing and attempt of making a convincing apology. I don't even need to open the letter. I could already see is not a sorry person. But this is just the surface examination. We're going to now analyze a little bit more deeply what's happened. Let's consider. Featured on our screen is the Rebuke of Barbara Winslow playlist that I have made public here as shown on my channel here. Okay? This playlist I started, it says 1 year ago, almost 2 years ago, I recorded these initial 3 videos on December of 2022. Rebuke of Barbara Winslow, parts 1, 2, and 3. You know, it's amazing. When I first recorded this, I naively thought, okay, now it's been 2 whole months since my mom's been, normal. At this time in October 22, we're going to draw a little timeline on this paper here that we have on our desk while we're talking about it. She called the police on me for illegitimate reason. I could technically have sued both her and the police. I'll tell you more later as to how that is. Actually, if I put papers together, it would be fucking cases against everybody. Proceeding, I got put in a mental hospital. There could be a case against them. It's free money, actually, so I don't know why I haven't put the papers in yet. Just need a little bit of emotional support to help me with it, is what's important in this life. But proceeding, at this time, I came back from the mental hospital. You should recall the events of this story because I've told this to you a few months ago over the summer. I then came home. I called her once. You think a normal mother, even if she calls her son and there's some problem, well, listen. These psychos don't know, these sickos really don't know how to position themselves in life. Because, see, say your son actually is genuinely psychiatrically ill. Poor guy. That's not evil. That's not an evil thing. That's sad. That's a sickness. And you want to be there for that person. So let's say in a parallel universe, the person in my position, in this general kind of position, that guy actually has something really wrong. And the mother was in the right in that situation because of some different circumstances that made the morality align that she was right. Okay. And the son's wrong. He's sick. There's some problem. If he's sick, so sick that he has to be taken to a hospital for psychiatric care, if it was actually valid, that's very sad. That's very sad. Now imagine that's your own son. And if that's your own son, on the one hand, the superficial difficulties of whatever the situation was is sad, but much more deep than that is the sadness of the apparent psychiatric issue that he's having, that poor guy. If that is the play that she's angling for here, well, if you're angling for it and you're trying to play that part, or if it's really aligned that way because that's the real truth of the situation, if it were really true, what would that mother be doing that whole week that son is in there? What would the mother be doing while her son's in a psychiatric hospital for a week in there? What would she naturally be doing? Any mother who's got a heart and normal.
Worry about it.
Worry about him, that's right. What else would she be doing? She's worried. Okay, so he's in the ward there, yeah. And she knows how to call the hospital. She called the hospital after the cops took me. She independently worked in her mind to go call the hospital to tell them stuff. Guess what? If you scroll all the way down on this list to video number 36, I make an entire video here, 36 videos later, on
yesterday, which first of all, that's not true.
On the mother's statements to what she said to the psych ER. Right? Feature the medical records and analyzed everything she said and how all of it is fucking sick, twisted, and evil. Lashon hara. And it's false. Double sin. Even worse. Anthony saw this. This was, once he saw these documents, this is when he started going, oh, that is really fucked up of Barbara to do this. Barbara is my mother's name. This is when he started realizing, oh, fuck, now I see, like, that's nuts. He said, I didn't know. I took almost a year later to expose this part, because I thought my mom would be sensible, come back. No, you're not sensible, then you must pay. You picked it. What's the principle there? You must pay, but who decided that you have to pay? You, because you didn't atone and repent. We covered atonement and repentance in principle, how these things work before. Okay? So moving back to where we were prior, okay? We find that, let's go back to this whole long list represents the timeline, basically, of what happened. So back here, we are at the timeline in the beginning of the real major issues of the most recent era. These are like eras of issues in October 2022. So she knows how to call in to that hospital. Okay, get the emergency doctor. Okay, I'm calling about this. Get me that person's doctor on the line. She's not shy. She knows how to do that. Okay, let me talk to them. Is she going, oh, how is he? Is he okay? No, she's going, you know what? When our neighbors see him walking down the street, they cross the street to go to the other side. Yeah, if I could show your face right now on the camera, you are disgusted by that. That's what she calls in, that's what she writes down, and they wrote this down. How would you like a mother like that?
Wow.
Wow, right?
I thought she was reflecting while the time you were there.
Yeah. Now, I'm not lying. It's all in the documents. It's all in the videos and the documents. And she never denied it because it's obviously true. She can't deny it, so she keeps her mouth silent. You see? That's what I'm saying. Anthony sees this. You see this. You haven't seen anything yet, but he saw all of this. I'll show you too. I keep giving her a chance, but she doesn't act normal. So you have to get the severe punishment. It's not called Gevura. I got it wrong. It's called Din. Din is justice. Okay? So what could she be doing while I'm there locked for a week? 8 days, I think. There's a patient phone. People are calling in and out of that phone all day, every day. All the patients are getting phone calls all day. Everybody in that ward, except me. Everybody except me. 8 days, I didn't get a call from my mom. Does that sound like a mom who actually loves her son? I think you're too stunned to even give a proper answer, because how do you even answer something like this?
Yeah.
Yeah. You see? But you see what I'm saying? It's fucked up. But wait a minute. I thought she's angling for him being sick. Oh, look, he needs a psych thing. Well, if your son is sick, any mother loves her sick son.
Yeah, but after doing that against you, I think she felt guilty. And that's why she couldn't call you while the time you were there.
That's right. And speak up a little bit because we're on a recording. But if you're right, except it's a half right. She should be guilty, and she's subconsciously guilty, but her conscious guilt doesn't move. Well, if you're guilty, that means you're wrong. But she can't accept that she's wrong. So she's guilty yet twisted woman mind of the devil. See? So she has to force a reframe. A woman's, any man or woman, really, both of them will do this. Anyone who's in the wrong, but they want to twist it to make it look like they're in the right, they have to reframe by force to say, no, it's like putting a square peg in a round hole. It has to fit my way, my way. You have to force the alignment. It's crazy. And it doesn't work. It breaks, but you have to just mess with it always because you're sick in the head. I came back home from that hospital. I called her once. She didn't return my call. Instead, she reached to Anthony against my permission. Lashon hara. Guilty. And then over the next 2 years, she starts, over months later, oh, they found extreme thyroid issues. I have to fly to my country to have serious operations. And then later, oh, I might be having cancer. Surprise, surprise. Have we experienced in this life what it is when you do wrong against somebody, and then all of a sudden, right immediately afterwards, crazy shit starts happening to you? It's not a joke. But people start thinking it's a game, and then when the crazy shit doesn't wake them up, oh, God only has more severe din and justice for these people. She goes to Anthony, involves him, tells him, I cannot communicate with my son. I won't even speak to him. No, I won't even communicate with him at all. I've covered the details why. I know your memory's a little 50-50. But when I told you the story originally, you understood the full details and you were saying like, yeah, to me. Basically, she seems like she's in the wrong. Continuing. Anthony then stayed involved. He was an intermediary between her and I. I refused to speak to her at all. He was basically the only trustable friend I had, enough that would fit as a witness in between. And plus, she forced him in. It wasn't even my election. So now that she forced him in, now it has to go that way because she forced it this way. So he's involved. He doesn't love it, but he's my friend, so he says, I'll do it, but I'll do it for you. So then, I knew him since we were 6 years old. Now we forward from October 2022. It becomes forwarded, and there's some videos in between. I put number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, as you see this list here. And eventually, my mom is being sent these playlists, these videos. She watches all this stuff. Now it's January 2023. And I'm featuring what she's writing to me. Because after a few months, she started texting me, as shown here. Deep, we start analyzing what's going on. February, she starts texting again, except it's offense. So why am I posting it here? Because it's offensive. And she's not apologizing within text. So I show Anthony and show her through here exactly what I'm showing Anthony, so that there's not an aspect of unfairness, so that she sees everything that's being said about this whole situation. So actually, with correct contextual understanding, this whole fact that this playlist exists with these videos is actually what? Is it a bad, or is it kind of a service? It's considerate service. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah? She's saying yes. So, I continue on. All right, and then she still wasn't getting it, because over here, by this, she saw it, she had views, no apology. Bad. So then, more videos on betrayal, because she's betraying, so I'm trying to teach her more. So I made a 8-video compilation series employing 60 of the highest psychiatric experts, psychological experts, religious leaders, rabbis, priests, pharaohs, whatever the hell you want, all telling her, teaching. If I recruit the whole world and the damn sand, I'll make it come alive to fucking teach her. Will the stupid idiots learn then? Then, after that point, I had to start informing Anthony of the deeper story because he had to become more involved. So I made long messages to Anthony here, 2 hours, 2 hours, 2 hours, 3 hours, 3 hours. So almost 15 hours in total he had to sit in his own life to listen to this, to receive more updates, to get the more nourishment of the nuanced details going back years and deeper context. So he says, okay, now I know a little more. We continue. I put more legal doctrine, religious doctrine. It never ends. Teaching, 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 no lesson learned. Teaching, 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 no lesson learned. Continuing. And then, I will tell you, I'll pause momentarily here, because now, as the time shows by this video number 28, we got up to and by the way, you have not seen these videos, that's correct?
Yeah.
You have not seen them, so you're not a deep witness to this. You're basically hearing the stories I gave you that summarized it in a manner a little more detailed what I'm saying now, a few months ago, and you kind of listened, you're like, okay, you didn't pay that much attention. And now, because it's still an issue, because my mother's writing what? Crazy emails that are offensive, just like the one we just showed on screen. And before we pass away from that, I want to show it one more time, because I think I glossed over one of the points that I wanted to make. I have to make this point. And when we have this here, this is the question I want to ask. If you're a man in my position, and you know you're right, and you've been going through this abuse by someone who you see as the wrong one, who's the abusive one, who's also non-repentant, every time you are owed a repentance and then they give you non-repentance again, they keep choosing the wrong fork in the road, over and over and over again. Every single time they do that is a renewed slap in the face, okay? Which is very infuriating, is anger-inducing, of course. Would you agree? Especially the nature of man is anger. A man or a woman would be angry, the same, similar. Knowing that you're right, knowing that you send an explanation to this woman why you're right, and then you just simply receive back this as a response, young men, don't harm your mother. How does that make you feel?
Well, she's trying to send you an indirect message.
That's right.
Yeah.
And what is this indirect message, as best as you can
To
tell?
teach you something.
She wants to be the teacher. You see?
Yeah. Well, she's the mom.
But so here's the problem. If you have a class, and then the class has grade A students, and then B, C level students, and then like D students and F students, which of those students think they're the smartest? Which one of those are trying to fight with the teacher the most?
Yes.
The F students, okay? That's exactly the irony of the situation. So you have the F student thinks that they're going to flip it and become the teacher themselves when God sees who's the correct person. Who needs to be the teacher and who needs to be the one learning the lessons here. Man teaches the lessons because he learns it from God directly. It's just that simple.
But there seems to be a level that's beyond Nevuah. It's the Torah of the Nun Sharabina. And that Torah comes through Haskalah, not Nevuah, because there's no Torah to Mashiach. So therefore, it comes from Haskalah. And that's the ability to know certain things that Nevuah can't even tell you. And that's why he's greater than Moshe Rabbeinu, because he is the actual Mashiach, and he's completely imbued with the concept, the process of Haskalah, and he knows everything that he knows, the whole 50th gate, without even learning it from anyone. Mashiach, the strange thing about the Mashiach, what is in the Yaskiladi, that in a certain sense the Mashiach does not have a Rebbe. That's what it means. Every Gadol and everyone in Klal Yisrael had a Rebbe. The only one who did not have a Rebbe was Moshe Rabbeinu. But even he had a Rebbe. His Rebbe was God. I mean, through a process called Nevuah. But the Mashiach does not even have a Rebbe from God to Nevuah. He has a Rebbe with God through Haskalah. He replicated the process of knowing something through Haskalah, which means he not only knew it because God told him, but he could actually figure it out because of his relationship with the Shekhinah.
Automatically, the heavenly tribunal is convened and the prosecuting attorney, the Sultan, begins, and it's automatic. There's no way to stop it. The only way to get out of that judicial system, you have merits of mercy and kindness. That's the only way. But if you do not have merits, then it's too bad. And I want to tell you something. God will not intervene in that court to save you. He created that court and the prosecuting attorney, the Sultan, to uphold justice. He will not intervene if that's the reason, if you are into that court.
Exactly, he's right. He will not even intervene if that's the reason you are in that court. He cannot help you or protect you. And in other videos, this very smart man correctly says, who is the one who judges? And people say, most people think simplistically, oh, God judges. Kinda not really, he says. It's not God who judges in that sense. Who judges? Who's the one who brings the aspect that comes against you? The Satan. He's the prosecuting attorney. And if ever Satan sees against you, if the human being who's involved in the problem invokes the heavenly courts, God and Satan are involved, but Satan is the one who makes the prosecution, and God himself cannot help you if you are guilty, because he has to uphold the justice that God himself intended, which is for God to say, yes, Satan is right, you're guilty, and he has to sit and watch while you receive terrible things happening in life. It's automatic. He's right. It's like this.
He will not intervene at all.
The king will do as he pleases.
Okay, and there's so much more that can be said about this. We haven't even mentioned it. It doesn't even matter, actually. For the purposes of this rebuke, it doesn't matter. No one has to be anybody special to merit the correct finding on this. I, in this matter, don't only represent myself. I represent, prototypically, every single regular common man who is interchangeable in my shoes. Any regular person doesn't have to be special. If he's in my shoes and they're living the same circumstance, it has to be the same judgment all across everywhere. Is the same. Okay? We haven't even mentioned anything so much on this video here about what people in the world are saying outside. We haven't mentioned anything. The person who's going to be listening to this video, because a link of this video will be posted and sent to her, that she'll watch it. You see? And you here, girl next to me, beautiful girl, you're the witness right now. Because that's how it has to be. Because this person here on this phone who's writing to me these emails, I say is abusive. I say it is, and you as a witness will properly be able to inspect to see. It's just that simple. Okay? But this person here, she doesn't know what people outside are saying. She doesn't know anything about what rabbis are saying and what people in the world out are saying. About me. They know who I am. Am I making it up? Have you seen emails come in from people saying something about that Polish guy? You've seen it. But anyway, continuing. She understands what I'm talking about. So, if you're a man in this position, not only you see that she's trying to send a message, but what effect does the sending of that message have on you? Because you, with dignity, say, you weren't supposed to do that. You know, non-smart mother. You're supposed to realize you're being bad, being wrong. You're depriving me. This is going against the mother nature. Remember, mother is all about nurturing and nourishment. This is opposite of nourishment. This is Lilith programming, which I've gone into in other videos. How does that make you feel? If you knew you deserved something better and you got something worse, what is man's nature? Very angry. You would call this indignation, wouldn't you? When you see this, does this frustrate you? If you're in the position that you're the person who's receiving this, you were deprived of acknowledgement your whole life. This is just another manifestation of the lack of acknowledgement of your righteousness. No, more gaslighting. Oh, don't harm your mother. That's people coming to shit on your head, even though you're going, please, I don't want to eat shit anymore. No, eat more shit. Ha ha ha. That's the devil. You understand my point? You're shaking your head, yes.
Yeah.
Going back to the other one, resuming here. So now we get to May 2023. Look, all of a sudden in video number 28, here's an interesting video. It says updates on May meeting of 2023 and subsequent fallout. That's strange. What is that all about? I'll update you right now. So here we've moved on into the year 2023, and now we go to May of 2023. Now here we have the first in-person meeting that we ever had, because Anthony was waiting for 5-6 months with Barbara. Hey, meet your damn son, because we're supposed to have a meeting. 6 months she delayed. Now when you've never seen anything like this, and now 6 months your life is delayed, because if you're not reconciled with your family, your life is being held up by a man at gunpoint, except it's a woman in this case. They're stopping your life on purpose. The selfishness. Sickness only does this. Okay? So Anthony's already not happy. 6 months he's delayed, but finally, May 2023, we sat down, we had a meeting. It seemed like a nice meeting. There's a whole 2-hour description that was recorded at the time that this happened and right after, saying live, what happened, so you have to be my own witness. If someone's getting raped every day for 20 years, you know, are they reporting it every day? Report it every day. Because the only thing, you go back, you have your history recorded. You could show the world what the fuck the real truth was. God hates disgusting shit. And the worst thing he hates is when parents are the ones who are guilty against their own children. That's why it says, at the end of time, at the time of Mashiach coming, that the messianic aspect that corresponds to Elijah, although our other prophets that we've watched here on YouTube indicate correctly, and another prophet I featured, you'll see in the video soon because I make all these, they said they're all one person. It's one Mashiach. This messianic age that we're about to enter into, this is prophetically viewed as 1,000 years of peace on earth, real life, real prophecies. They said this is going to be, the first thing that's going to happen is going to be turning the problematic relationships that all the parents have with all the children and forcing them to become normalized. Truly. That the parents' hearts will turn back towards their children and the children's hearts will turn back towards their parents. How? Is it because the mother finally said, because finally I'm super robotic right and my sons will be the slaves to worship me again? No, opposite. Because the false programming of the last 5,000 years was the sick parents who become overly dominant but blind to the faults they're actually doing. So no one's heart could be turned to anybody. It's a lie. When Moshiach comes, then you will see everyone's going to be forced to obey the correct understanding of the law with the clear interpretation. And immediately, any single parent anywhere found who's guilty and the reports come in, what are the video recordings? What's the audio? What's the report say? Take them away. They're gone. Like this, it's going to change. People need to be shaken up out of their sleep. Shaken. So imagine this. But finally, after 6 months, we are given dignity. That finally we sit down, and the mom sits with me and with Anthony in some park, maybe a 15-minute walk over that way, near Prospect Park. We sit, we talk. I share some of my frustrations, but she seems somewhat apologetic. It's going in the right direction. She promises us, okay, and I will continue to meet here every weekend with you guys. We'll do this regularly because it's been too long. It's been 6 months already. Hey, now is October of the following year. It's been 2 years now. 6 months turned into 2 years because this is how sick people are. What happened? The next weekend, Anthony got a text from my mom. You know what she said? I actually suddenly, the night before, he said, what the fuck? Because this is what he sees. He sees how she is acting, like King Solomon. King Solomon doesn't hear the words of the two women. That's her dead baby. No, that's her dead baby. My dead baby. It's all fucked up. He's not listening to the words. He's watching the actions reveal who the true character is. Same with a man's mind. Anthony's watching. He sees the behavior. He will know what the fuck is going on. So he sees her night before. Oh, I'm actually not going to participate in any more meetings. Why? Because I'm mad at my son and he put these videos and he lied on these videos. And he showed me through text. I said, that's not true. I didn't lie about anything. She's lying about me having lied. So therefore it's a deflection tactic. Anthony says, interesting. She comes out, she says, you lied. And he says, I've watched these videos. So now he's thinking, I know the particulars. So he says, okay, she's making a generalized, vague claim that you lied about something. What does she mean specifically? What did you lie about? Well, she hasn't told me. But John, you're saying that that's just a deflection. You haven't said any lie. So I have to determine, because he's the guy in the middle. So he goes back to Barbara. Okay, Barbara, but first of all, if he's lying about something, the purpose of the meetings is to sit down so that you could work it out immediately, because the purpose of the meeting is to accelerate and expedite the resolution. You see? So if you want to participate in meetings, that's because your heart is geared towards finding the resolution, whether or not you believe you're right or whether that guy's right. Either way, whoever's right, let's work it out now and quickly so we could both be in alignment again. That's what a loving mother would do, right? You saw a lack of loving mother indications when I'm in the psych hospital. She never called. I came back, she doesn't want to talk, she doesn't give a shit. She's trying to stage. Staging is your preoccupation when you're twisted. It's called cluster B personality disorder. And most human beings have some proportion of this. Some less, some more. But it's almost everywhere, to differing degrees. It's true. The job of Hashem is to cook and boil it out of everything. It's gone. It will never exist anymore. This is the destroying of Amalek. Because what is Amalek? If you go back to the Torah, the Bible, it's in the Bible. Amalek is the group and the nation of people that came and attacked Israel right after Israel was what? At its highest. They just got out of Egypt. They're on fire. They're like the champions of the world. And all the surrounding nations knew it. You see? But they didn't come with honor. They didn't come because there was a genuine problem that the Amalekites had. See, other people, they go to war, but they have valid causes. You know, you offended us for real. We think this is wrong. Nah, we just want to fuck around with you. We don't give a shit who's right or wrong. We'll come in blind, and we don't come to meet you at your front. We come to your back and slaughter the people in the back of your army lines. The old people, the slow people. And that's what they were doing. And they said, this is the lowest thing we've ever seen. That is analogous. The spirit of Amalek is the spirit of cluster B personality disorder, psychopathy, and narcissism. It's me. I don't care about honor and God or you, just me. You're just a thing. You're here. I don't care to come to your front. You're nothing. That's Amalek. Arrogance. But why is this arrogance damaging? Because it has a negative effect in real life. Why? Because the rabbis say that the effect of Amalek is the most dangerous effect, is the most evil. That's why Amalek is only to be destroyed completely. God says, everyone else, you can make a tshuva, you could accept their forgiveness. Not Amalek. Once Amalek is identified that is Amalek, you are permitted, you're not permitted, you will break with God if you even think that you can make forgiveness with them. Strict din. No chesed, no kindness, no cierpliwość, po polsku in Polish, or other words also could describe that idea of kindness a little better. But you understand, in essence, the rabbis likened it to imagine that the water is very hot. It's too hot for somebody to come into. The hot water in the bathtub is so hot that almost no man could go in and tolerate it. But let's say you get one guy and they jump in and they destroy themselves. Because when Amalek goes and attacks the rear of Israel, the Klal Yisrael, they're going to get destroyed. It's guaranteed. And they were just about completely wiped out. Although rumors are that literally there's descendants of Amalekites still alive today. Tied in with Mystery Babylon, if you understand what I'm saying. Okay? But continuing, and they're even, energetically, they're even sort of intertwined with what we consider as Erev Rav, which in other videos they say these are people that they're with us, but yet secretly they're not so with us, and they're twisting around things and getting screwy around. This is the effect of this is poisoning the well water, so everyone dies of poison, including ourselves. This is narcissism. Because when you start learning more about narcissistic personality disorders, these are people who cannot identify, they're unable to identify that the way they're being actually hurts themselves. They cannot even see it. So that it's like that you're watching them hurt themselves. You go, why are you doing this? They don't know why they're doing this. Because their programming is telling them to do this. It is evil. God hates these people the most. The rabbis say, is when someone jumps into the water. See, we've recorded 1 hour already. Just went by like this. Continuing into the second hour. When that person goes into the hot bath, maybe he's burnt. He's got burnt skin now, but he went into the hot bath. He cooled it down. And now other people could go in without a problem. Because the bath is cooler. Same thing. When Israel was first out of Egypt, no one would touch them. If they kept that same aura, and they were entitled to that aura, they were God's chosen people, guess what? They would have stayed with the untouchable aura. But there's one problem. Now Amalek comes, offends the Israelites in a specific manner. What does this do when all the other nations of the world hear that stupid Amalek went and just messed with Israel like that, as if they're nothing, as if they're low? Oh, maybe Israel is messable with. Oh, so let's go and mess with them too then. And after Amalek was destroyed, other nations, doesn't matter. Amalek's effect was that, oh my God, they're not gods, they are mortal. Oh, so we can't, let's go put our shields on, let's go destroy them then. See? It's exactly the same effect. When I'm sitting, my friends respect me. But when my mom then reaches them out unsolicited, I have a problem with my son and my son's bad. What effect does this have on me? My friends now can't help but their instinct, John is lowered in their eyes. Goes all back, Lashon Hara, biggest sin. So you see the common thread. Amalek, biggest sin, biggest enemy. Biggest sin, Lashon Hara. It all energetically is aligned with the same problem of lowering the person when they're not fit to be lowered, therefore you must pay. Atonement, payment, plach. Anthony now says, well, I need to see what he's lying about. Barbara, I hear what you're telling me, but now clarify, which part did he lie about? This was in May of 2023. Do you know that he repeatedly would ask her this question for the next 7 months and she would not answer? If you're watching that happen like a fly on the wall, what impression does this give you? Does that make it look like I'm really this liar that she makes me out to be? Oh, Miss Barbara, what is he lying about? What is it? Yes, he's lying. Oh, about what? I said he's lying. Leave me alone now. It's good enough. I'm right. Basically. You see that? So does it look on the face of the situation now that I've said anything wrong or misconstrued anything? Look at me. You know me now for several months. How many times have I lied and severely misconstrued something to you? None. Do you know what it is when you don't misconstrue and lie like this, and then someone else still, I'll make him out anyway that he is no good lying, even though it's not true? You know, I hate these fucking people. Only one place for them. Doesn't matter who they are. And that's the new law coming soon to the world. Then you have peace. So we had one meeting in May of 2023, and then she just suddenly refused to meet. What? So now, it's like, okay, well, we tried once, and then she defaulted. So if she defaults on it, where she's actually in the wrong, and Anthony admitted, yes, she seems she's in the wrong here. That's not right of her. We were entitled morally to continue meeting properly. Obviously, she doesn't give a shit to resolve this. Anyone who wants to resolve it would be meeting quicker. But anyone who wants to prolong it because there's something sick with their minds and their morality will prolong it. So you look at the effect of what their behavior is to see what their real character is. It's that simple. Continuing. I continue to put more on the recent issues. Describe more about narcissism, because by this point it started becoming more and more apparent what the underlying substantive cause is for the surface behaviors that we keep seeing from her. And it's true. And Anthony agreed once he... and then now we get to video number 34 in this list, as you can see. Now we're going to fast forward to August. So here on this paper, meeting number 1, and then after meeting number 1, as you could see on this paper, she has defaulted. Now we continue through time a little more, and now we get to August. So this was the beginning of summer before summer, and now the whole summer goes by, and now August of 2023, finally, Anthony gets my mom to agree to do a meeting. Anthony says to my mom, okay, now you're coming back, we're going to try a second meeting. We're supposed to have the second meeting in May, but lady, you just didn't show up. I didn't agree with that, but now you've come to your senses, so you're going to be meeting with us again regularly, right? So I mean, you defaulted on us once. Definitely you're not going to just do that again now, right? Oh, no. Okay. So we're meeting on the second time, okay? Now the first meeting was a more flowing meeting. But because of the offense of her canceling once, the second meeting, it was not as productive. I'll explain in a moment. Okay, resuming. So we eventually sit down on the second meeting. And this meeting, I'm purposely, so I could test the person who's sitting across from me, that woman. You understand? A man always tests the person to see their heart. I'm purposely making more of a anger to see if is this a sorry woman, or is this going to be an arrogant woman who's defending, excusing, justifying? Is she going to have what we call a creditor mindset or a debtor mindset? It's just that simple. Debtors defend, excuse, avoid taking responsibility, avoid confessing, avoid judgment. Garbage. God punishes to the end. And Satan too. These people have no idea. All right, we're continuing. So the second meeting, it was productive still because we got to discuss important things, but it was more tense. So tense that even Anthony was like, oh my God. You know, he wished it was a little less intense. And the intensity was due to my justified, key point, justified anger at my mom at how she was conducting herself, both in the circumstance that she delayed the meetings by 3 months, and secondly, that while she was sitting there, she was basically continuing to deny, to misconstrue, lie, and twist, which is, to my face, when you do that, is extremely offensive. That I have to stop her and constantly clarify everything she's saying, which I have a right to do in front of Anthony, because he's the one in the middle trying to decide and understand everything carefully. So the whole second meeting was basically a string of continued offenses, indignation. I'm furious. This is disgusting to me. I'm not fit for this. Hell is this? But by the end of the meeting, nevertheless, she says, okay, you know, it's frustrating for us, but She affirms, she looks me in the eye, and she says, I'm still committed that I will come here every week. I realize it's the only way for us to do it. Every week, I'm going to come, and we'll do this here. Anthony agrees. Anthony says, yeah, we'd better come every week. Barbara, you're the only one who stopped it, so I'm looking at you. You really will be coming, and you did this. You canceled once before. You're not going to do it again. And basically, is what his position was. And she essentially understood, or she seemed to. What do you think happens? Do you have a crystal ball? We were meeting on Sundays, every Sunday. Now, the following weekend, it goes again. Saturday night, guess what she does?
Did she cancel?
Not only Saturday night, actually, Saturday night, she writes into Anthony and writes to him, "Hi, Anthony, just confirming that we're all meeting tomorrow, yes?" Anthony says, "Yes, of course. Absolutely. This is men you're working with. It's God. From your damn perspective, it's the same thing. Of course we are." You know, in a manner of speech. He's actually an atheist. He doesn't even talk about God. But the point is, the answer is absolutely, of course. That's. And then we go to sleep, and then she wakes up, and then in the morning of the day we're supposed to meet, 2 hours later, of the same morning, she says, all of a sudden, everything that I describe in these videos here, number 34 and 35, do you see what that says? Canceled meeting of the Labor Day weekend.
For the first time, this is a text that
And this whole thing is analyzed now. I'm not going to play the whole video, but you understand. That's right. Late August going into September, which was the Labor Day weekend, the second meeting happened. But once again, it was supposed to be a third one. No, she made a default here and default here. Now Anthony's furious. He's fucking pissed. He says, "What, lady? What are you telling me?" She says to him, "You know what? I thought about it, so I decided that we're not going to meet. Instead, let me tell you what we're going to do. We're going to do, we're not going to meet now because it's wasting my time. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to write a letter, and I'm going to write a letter that explains everything from my side, the way I see it, how it's supposed to be. And then when I finish writing the letter, I'll hand you the letter later today. I will give you the letter in 2 hours. When you come to my house," and he's like, "I never agreed to fucking come to your house. What the fuck is this?" You see? So already he's starting to see the same signs. This is narcissism. This is cluster B personality disorder. I never agreed that I'd come to you. Who the fuck are you that you're going to dictate where I'm going now? I'm not your slave. Only people who are narcissistic will impose their fucking dumb, mindless ideas on other people without checking to see that the other sovereign men of the situation agree. The free world in the West is contract by agreement, not with narcissists. They think everybody's under their control. Okay? A husband has a wife, a mother, parents have children. These are dominions. I don't tell my neighbor that you're going to go see me there later. Or if you're the wrongdoer, you don't tell that to your victims, even if they're your children. You're supposed to realize you're wrong. And definitely don't tell the witnesses what the fuck to do. So Anthony's like, this stupid bitch. In her head, he's like, "Is your mom fucking stupid?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's what I'm trying to tell you." He's like, "Yeah, I see it now. This is unbelievably arrogant. What the fucking hell?" But the reason that she wants to cancel the meetings was because she has a better idea, she claimed. Much more details are available in these long videos. But this is the summary version. So the letter that she's going to make is going to be the magic key that pays the atonement for why the meetings are canceled. She doesn't check with us, "Hey, do you guys think it'd be okay if we could cancel the meetings? Do you like my better idea? If you agree, then we won't meet and we'll do it this way instead." Do you agree that that would be a normal way, a normal person would do it? Yeah. So in other words, I'll say it again. Should a person in her position who's rightly being accused, and she ends up being found guilty by me and the witness, and anybody else. And I had a second witness online who we became involved and watched these videos and also agreed. I could feature her text here too. Unbelievable. She said, yeah, basically you're in the right and she's wrong. And she also said the same thing like Anthony. She said, initially I thought I would be supporting her because it's just the default assumption, because just subconsciously the frame suggests for someone who doesn't look deeper, oh, the mommy's of course going to be in the right, usually. No, and then she said, she actually wrote to me, she said, I was surprised to find that as the whole situation began to unfold, it became clearer and clearer to me that actually she's the one who's messing up and you are the one in the right. You see? So I'm going to go back to this question here. If you're in the, so now that you actually are in the wrong by God's eyes, as best as we can tell, and I promise you by every authority on this earth that it is her who's wrong. Humans are blind. When someone in her position is involved in this whole stupid offensive chain of indignations, canceled meeting here, canceled meeting here, are you in the position to be telling people what the fuck's going to be happening? Or should you be asking, hey, is it okay if we cancel?
Yeah, asking should be the proper manner.
She didn't ask. She just said, I'm going to cancel. Now you people do this. Now you jump to the beat of my drum. Sicko. Control shit. Freako. Crazy. So I say, okay. So number one, you gave us one. First, there's the original problem here. Then we're supposed to be meeting. She defaults here. And then Anthony says, we're going to give her one more chance. But if she cancels again, then we're not going to be meeting with you until you give the full atonement, which is what? That you have to be sorry that you did this in the first place. Not just say you're sorry, you actually have to feel sorry. Okay? Next. But she kept saying this. So naturally, she herself volunteered this letter, which I'm holding in my hand here, you see? Or this is a later version of this letter, I don't know. But it's the same idea. She offered the letter as part of the atonement price. She said, I'll give this letter in place of the meetings, so that once I deliver these letters to my son and then to the witness who was involved, that both my son and the witness will see the letter, will both read the letter, they'll understand my position and everything I have to say, because, maybe she says, I'm not going to speak so well in the meetings, and John speaks a lot, and I don't speak as much, but if I do the letters, but here's the problem. On this second meeting that we actually had take place on August, my mom said I could bring a letter, but we said, good, bring the letter next weekend for the meeting. And we said, fine. And she said, yes, that's great. I'll bring the letter here and we'll talk about it next weekend. So we never agreed to cancel the meeting. This is indignation. This is disrespect. Remember, disrespect to a man is death. That's why we don't permit it. Because it's the same as killing us. It's the same as you taking a knife and cutting our faces. It's the same thing. That's why we kill you back with real knives. Do you understand how God shaped this world? It's different energies, different polarities. It's very important to understand it, because you're killing us first. That is murder to me. That is murder to the man, to the male DNA. It works, it's different programming. And God designed it on purpose. It's supposed to be this way. And you're supposed to honor it correctly, to not fuck up. So, continuing. Okay. By the way, this whole time here, have I been harming my mother in any way? I'm just bringing up because now this funny email comes in. Is this harming my mother? No, this whole time I'm trying to force the correct redemption paradigm. You see? Does this look like I'm working against resolution or towards resolution? Honestly, and think about it.
Trying to get a resolution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see, it's pretty clear. Does she look like she's trying to get a resolution, or does she look like she's trying to stall, delay, fight, and so on? Okay? And this is you without you knowing the deepest level of detail, which may be shared with you at least piecemeal here and there, of what's important. But for now, even at the surface relatively surface level, surface and slightly moderate level of comprehension, but mostly this is a summary version. This is bullshit. This seems like bullshit. Would you agree? Yeah. She's not disagreeing, that's for sure. She's in a difficult position here, but it's one that who put her in? Really? This poor guy has somebody he has to turn to because somebody else is putting him in the unfair position. That's who we hold karmically accountable. You see? So that's where the karma is attached. So make it clear. At this point, we completely refuse to push for any more meetings. After Labor Day, as shown here on the screen, I stopped moving towards meetings. So now, because I realized, okay, only 11 months later, after that happened, I realized meetings are not going to be viable. So then I start putting more information here, as shown on number 36, which I referenced. Okay, since we're not meeting in person, now I'm going to conduct the rest of these videos as if we are meeting in person, because I'm going to say the rest of the shit I was saving for the meetings, which is, look what my mother actually said to the psych-ER. Look at the deeper details. Anthony sees this, he's like, oh my God, I didn't even know. I was like, yeah, I was waiting for 11 months, because my mom's being the fucking delayer. The fuck? Meanwhile, Anthony's getting overwhelmed. Now he's starting to have some problems with this. And he doesn't know if he wants to be involved. And there's a fair way to not be involved. And actually, Anthony was doing something that was in the wrong against me. So at that point I said, Anthony, you're my friend, you've been helping me, but don't be weird with me on a separate thing, because then we can't relate, and then you can't also be involved with my mom anymore with this. So at this point he starts being temporarily disengaged. At this point in October, about September and October of 2023, while Anthony was disengaged, without a witness, I was essentially forced due to necessity to temporarily accept, but this is again as a grace, but if you shit on the grace, you're going to get blocked, to text back and forth to permit basic administrative purposes communication. Only after a few weeks, her text became so offensive that I had to make this video. Will my mom have to get blocked? Because that's how offensive her texts were. Now, if you're any human being, whether a parent or a son or a friend or anybody who's involved with someone, don't fucking text them stupid shit to add to the pile of offense that you already may be guilty for, even conceivably. More narcissism. I continue making more videos teaching people. Around this time of October 2023, I discovered, oh my God, wait a minute. AI is the witness and judge I've been looking for. Because I'm not talking to Anthony now, I'm mad at him. So I need somebody who's perfect, what's fair. Oh, AI, it's a supercomputer. I started recruiting AI supercomputer. It was the judge. It would determine, and it would do so correctly, and really it did in the meantime. By video number 40, my mom would end up becoming, as this video says, blocked.
If you didn't think that things could get any worse,
Blocked. What happened? And I feature the whole thing. You see, even here, I write, I also find it to be the case. You owe an apology. But of course, more offense. More details are available in the videos. Continuing. After this, since I blocked her, I simply told her the only way I'll be communicating any information is through the continued posting into this playlist here. So continue to put into the playlist here. Meanwhile, what would she do? She'd resume communicating with Anthony. Eventually, Anthony and I temporarily made up that he became involved for about only 2 more months or so. And in this time, he continued watching more videos, although I don't think he watched everything, strangely enough. And then eventually, by around November of 2023, she sent Anthony this email, which Anthony saw, and he found this to be so alarming that he didn't actually share with me many things that my mom sent to her. He kept a lot of it private, but he elected to share this piece with me because he found it to be alarming and relevant that I should know. She writes to him basically the following, okay? and this is featured in more detail in one of my videos here. She writes, oh, you know, and in one section she goes, you know, I'm not really sorry for anything. I don't think I did anything wrong. He did wrong. He did bad. He needs help. Ba ba ba. See the frame inversion addiction? Continues. And look how it's impressive how long the woman can be enslaved to the twisted paradigm. It's an addiction. Some people have a drug addiction. Some people have righteousness, frame inversion, morality and twisting addiction. It's the same thing. It's actually more addictive. Your ego is addictive, stupid people. Continuing. So at this point, she writes to him this, and then she also writes to him either in the same email or another related email, because they're writing back and forth quite a bit. A lot of long emails, actually. Incredible stuff. A lot of this I feature. You'd be stunned. You'd be blown away. She writes to him saying, you know what? You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to tell him like a whatever apology. I'm just going to say I'm sorry, just to say that I'm sorry. So after that, he's going to have to accept, and he'll be forced to reconcile, basically. So then once he reconciles, then I will make him go to treatment. So he will have to go to a psychiatrist. Remember, because if you're trying to force a paradigm where you are wrong, you as the wrong one are actually right, and the other guy's wrong, and you sent him to a mental institution. So you have to continue to hold on to that. You don't have God as your real God, so you make your own God. The psychiatric paradigm becomes my God, not actual truth, not actual morality, not actual love. So the only thing I want is for him to get a psychiatric diagnosis. Give him more. And by the way, just so that you understand, also, you know, there's a financial issue, right? So she devised a plan. She says, remember, everything is a tool and a practicality. Especially Polish people are like this. They don't really know love. They just know functionings. They don't know love. That's why my dad couldn't handle it. So he actually left the marriage. There's a lot of stuff my dad told me that I wouldn't even tell my mom. But she never figured out. So, there you go. Okay, it's called social emotional IQ, which some people have and some people don't. Okay, you know why people run to the clubs to do cocaine on weekends? Because their wives aren't pleasing them at home enough. And I don't mean physically necessarily. Really, more importantly, I mean emotionally nourishing. And if you're not emotionally present for your husband, you're not going to have a husband for very long. Then a powder on a table becomes more exciting than the heart fulfillment at home, because there was no heart fulfillment. It's that easy. It's that easy to lose your fucking marriages. Because you're not connected to real spirit and real God and real love in life. Okay? So, continuing, all right? Getting on track. She just wants to preserve the functionality. So what's the point? There's a low income. Now, for me to basically eat and my own I'm not even Social Security. I don't have enough diagnoses to get Social Security for a valid reason, and I got many fake diagnoses at hospitals, and it's unethical. I don't want to use a fake diagnosis that I don't believe is really applicable. It's on the books. It's in all the registers. I'm going to show you. I made a video about this, and I'll tell you more stories about all that. It's unbelievable. You know, and maybe that stuff, if I filed on, 50-50. But if you get a psychiatric diagnosis or disability, it's more restraining. And they control you. You become like in a loose way, you become a semi-ward of the state. This is not what's meant for man or king in either case. You understand? It's just that simple. But people like this don't understand dignity. People like her, they only understand control. So what does she want? I decide there's no meeting. So I decide that if my son makes this disability for psychiatric, I don't know anything about the hole in his brain and the MRI for pineapple juice and the food in his brain. Even though many people from Russia, from here in America, Anthony himself, other people all looked at this stuff and they're like, they're pointing thermal cameras at my head. They're seeing the plumes of cold go here, exactly what I'm showing. They're like, oh my God, it's real. Touching my face. Oh my God, his eyeball's hot from the tea he just drank. I watched him. I watched it. Oh my God. And other many signs. She doesn't understand. She has some kind of learning or mind cognitive issue. Sort of worse than yours in a way, I suspect. That's what I see. But other people, including my uncle 8 years ago, felt the same way. And that was 8 years ago. Imagine how much worse it is now. But people who don't see, don't see. Continuing. The point is this. She says, if you get disability, then they will pay your money. Now, they only pay like $700-800 for a month because I didn't work on Social Security. It's not enough to even pay my rent. And there is no greater option in this country. So I actually have no ability to do this. It's all fucking just done. But she wants to force things into sabotage. So she thinks, look, if I keep pushing him to psychiatric paradigms, there's a double benefit. 2 birds with 1 stone. It justifies my moral position that I'm trying to fight, number one. And number two, it gets him paid a little bit of money if he forcibly submits to my thing. She'll even write in emails and words and text. She'll say, submit, submit. She'll use the word submit. A man will never submit. He overmits. He dominates, you stupid people. Control, never, woman can never control man. And correct tradition understands, even a mother of a grown man, the mother is subject to the man. So there's an ancient saying, a woman is subject to 3 men in her life. She's subject to her father during her young age. She's subject to her husband during her middle age. And she's subject to her eldest male child, becomes her boss, in her late years. That's it. It's not reverse for a reason. It's not reverse. Never get it twisted. Follow the woman is death. Meanwhile, they believe they're taking you to life. It's all inversion vision because it's part of this the Garden of Eden curse. They don't get this part. Blow your minds away. Replace them. And this girl here next to me is practically crying already because just about almost. She's so overwhelmed with the emotionality of this. And she's only getting a small taste. You see? So let me ask you a question. And she already is sitting here very despondent. She's sad. She has empathy more so than my mom has empathy. This girl here has empathy. That she's feeling that, well, this is a lot more frustration than she imagined. Did I talk about this very much in the last few months with you? Not very much, no. And now you see why I haven't talked very much about this, right? Because this is so frustrating and so intense and so much of an indignation that it's like a nuclear bomb almost of impact. That this is what selfish people do. The one in her position, they don't care that it's a nuclear bomb. Empathy means I would never do that to my son. I'd never let you feel that way because I would be destroyed. But see, she's not being destroyed. It's fine to be sicko to your own children. It's fine. See the difference? Yeah, she's shaking her head. Yes, she can barely even speak. She's so despondent. She's very emotional. Emotionality is the key to redemption and access to spirit and truth. So I continue turning to ChatGPT and AI more, but I'm going to tell you one thing. Okay? As I was covering now in the story, in November she said, I'm just going to tell my son sorry. Just tell him sorry, even though I'm not really sorry for anything, Anthony, to make it clear. So then he'll be bound somehow. And he's like, what the fuck? John, look at this. This is crazy. I'm looking at him like, wow, this is crazy. And right on time, like 2 days later, all of a sudden, magically, she changes her tone and she writes a letter to me. John, my son, I want to say I'm sorry. Okay, now, listen, here's what you're going to do. I want you to go to this place. Now you're going to do this and do that, and then you're going to get help and get treatment. We need to make you better. You're not okay. You're bad. You need help. You're dysfunctional, okay? Do you like that? Would you accept an apology like that?
No.
No. Why not? Number one, is it an indication that she's actually, truly realizing that she's in the wrong about something that she did?
No, she's actually not asking you if you agree with whatever she decides to do.
Which is an insult already in and of itself, which is wrong. inconsiderate. Would you ever treat your children like this?
No.
You have 2 children.
Yeah.
They're grown.
Yeah.
Would you treat them like this?
No.
Why not? Because it's fucked up. You have more kids than she does. You have 2 daughters, but they're both grown. And actually, technically, a mother with daughters tends energetically to have more of a disharmony with female children than with her male sons. Even still, your own daughters, you could never imagine bringing to something like this. See all this? Would you do something like this here to your daughters? So from one mother to another, what do you feel is the problem here? And take your time and think about it if you like. So I'll ask again. What do you think? Would you do something similar to this, or what you would do would be very different from this?
Well, as you know, I've been raised in a different way, and of course I manage situations in a different way, and of course I'm not agree with the way that she handled all this.
All this?
Yeah.
Okay. On the surface, now, the way we see it, I think virtually all human beings alive would agree with you. You feel the same way. Most, not everybody, but overwhelming majority would sensibly fall on our side of how we feel about this. And we're not hear this whole story the way it's been said, and to see also what she said, which is available here. I make it so fair, I show just about all of her emails and the things she says so that anyone can see it. What kind of person wants everyone to see both sides? The person who's right. But the one who wants to cover it up is the one who's in the wrong. That's the general, usual truth of the matter. Okay? This is very profound. So we're going to continue here. I'm just going to finish this story. So then she reaches out to me and says, "Oh, here is the apology email. I'm so sorry. Oh." This email was covered here in video number 44A and 44B. I'm going to have you take a look at these soon, okay? Because I'm going to want you to take a look at these more closely, because basically this here is an extension of this here. Okay? So if her apologetic nature, supposed apologetic nature, is not actually apologetic, and then you're getting fed more donkey crap telling you, no, this is food, eat it. Well, it's crap. And then you get more of the same shit here. Is this fake forming, or is this nice? Okay, we're resuming. I just paused for a moment. Our lovely girl here just asked me, could you repeat yourself?
I'm asking you that since a year passed already.
Yeah, a year passed about since the time of this, which was the fall of 2022, almost the end of year. This was like, no, I'm sorry, 2023. This was like December or January 2023 going into 2024. So this was about 10, 11 months ago. Yeah. So this was an apology given back then. And then now, 10, 11 months later, we're holding this yellow envelope in our hands here that my mom dropped under my door. Don't fucking see your own son. Why would you do that? See the problem? Leave it under his door. He's a dog. Would you do that with your kids?
Of course not.
Of course not. Ridiculous to even ask or consider such a possibility. Except if you're an alien. Resuming here. So, you were asking, since it's 10, 11 months later, now we see this letter. So she wonders. You say, maybe it's been enough time that she actually really does have a true remorse. Is that your suspicion?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe she really is sorry. This crossed your mind just now, and you mentioned it to me very quickly while we were paused from our recording, but now you've asked this openly. I'll say, okay, well, number one, there's two aspects. Number one is, no, she's not actually remorseful, and I'll remind you, here's how you know. I'll show you much more, but just for a moment, boom, here's how you know. Remember this? She sent that this morning, today, 10:44, this morning, today, Saturday, October 20-something. Does this come from a sorry person? No. That's how you know that it's full of shit. But number two, more importantly, we also look at whether the atonement price is paid. Okay? Now remember, in the Jesus story with the king and the servant, there's two phases of the king. The king was initially forgiving. I forgive you the debt. I have grace. I have mercy. I have forgiveness and kindness. And then when that person defaults even after getting the chesed, then is strict din. Is no more kindness, no more chesed. So the phase of the second phase of the king is strict, severe judgment. Okay? So we had me foregoing strict atonement price would be consistent with the operation of the judging king within the first phase of grace. But look at the backstory. Are we in phase 1 of grace still, or did she X her way out of the grace phase and default on it so hard that she blew this whole situation right into the strict din phase of judgment, strict, severe judgment phase, pure. So because it's in a pure state of judgment, I, as a righteous judge, must enforce strict judgment, or if I foolishly extend more carpet, that's called what? Both Jesus said, don't give pearls before swine, and God says, don't violate my substantive way. I will curse myself if I forgive my mother too quickly. This is what people don't understand. I love God more than I love you human beings. There's very, very few people on this earth, alive, past, present, or future, that are truly this way.
That may look to the tribes of Israel and to the rest of the world. God is not sending your friend or a man that anybody can claim as their own. He's sending an outcast whose only concern is to carry out the work of God, regardless of how that may look to the tribes of Israel and to the rest of the world.
These are one of them crazy things.
Your side, I'm the side of God. If He sees it fit for you to dwell in safety, then I will help carry that out. If He sees it fit for you to be punished, then I'm here to carry that out. Okay, there's no loyalty in this individual, no loyalty in him except for the Lord.
Boom.
I am not on your side. I'm the side of God.
You see that? Okay, and that's exactly right. So, she sends me these. They're fundamentally rejected. I had AI analyze it. I had Anthony look at it on his own and to read the email. I said, if either AI agrees that I should permit the accepting of this apology. Okay, resuming the recording again. Here, I had to be if either Anthony or if the AI saw that the apology could even be considered to be acceptable or sufficient, I would accept it. That's what I promised. So I turned to AI. I gave AI the email. I gave AI the backstory. I said, AI, would you accept this apology? AI said, no. Insufficient apology is her fault. She shows us that it's sufficient. So she fails to merit the accepting of the supposed apology. Okay? Anthony, without looking at the AI necessarily, independently by the email says the same thing. He's like, no, this is bullshit. This is not even an apology. He looked at it. He said, I don't even see an apology here. This is just her explaining more bullshit to you. He was upset. He was empathetic for me. I said, I agree. I see the same thing. So 3 entities all aligned with one who have correct entity of logic and reasoning thinking. So we agree. No is correct. That means God forbids us to accept the apology. Do you understand how morality works, people? Wake up. It's very simple. Continuing. Love God, not yourselves. Love God. Idiots. Or pay. Scream. Pay. Continuing. Okay, I continue to feature more videos, and then continuing through 2024 now, it's decided no meetings, because my mother dishonored us meeting multiple times, twice and beyond. But remember now, she promised a letter, so guess what? Now I'm featuring and saying, hey, she said that she promised letters, but she kept not giving the letters. She told Anthony, I'll give you a letter in 2 hours. 2 hours became 2 days. 2 days became 2 weeks. 2 weeks became 2 months. And 2 months became nothing. She did not pay the price of atonement for the meeting, which was the letter. But to pay the atonement for the meeting, it has to be repentance. So she has to be paying the letter and be sorry for having violated the sanctity of our meeting, which she never showed that she was, even to this day. Continuing. Moreover, now the fact that she delayed to give me the letter that she originally promised around Labor Day weekend in itself is becoming an offense. Because I said that was what? Labor Day weekend, August, September 2023. That was 14 months ago. Okay? A few months later, she said again, okay, I'm going to prepare an email. She said to us, I want to prepare a letter for you guys, and John, I'm going to put it under your door. Okay, sometime around the springtime of this year, when we started first hanging out a little bit, she said this to me, and she put emails. All these emails are here. I'm going to put the letter under your door. Okay, I'll have it ready soon. Okay, I'll have it ready soon. I said, okay, if you really do, I'll read it. And then every day, oh, no letter. Where's the letter? Nothing. Where's the letter? No response. Where's the letter? 0. And then she just magically disappeared. No letters. And a few more months goes by. You see? So when she promises you, I will give you a letter, and then you're expectant of the letter, and then there's no letter, that's an insult to you? She does. Yeah, of course it is. That's right. We agree. And then when she does the same thing again, oh, okay, no, now let me get the letter for you. Okay, you did this before already, but all right, now we'll wait for the letter. So you get 2 defaults, but 2 defaults you're out, then you're fucked. Now she waits again. Oh, now I'm going to put a letter under your door. Now I say we're going to be okay with the letter. And she just puts this under my door. Last month. 13 months after the letter was provided. Okay? So, meanwhile, she's showing a defiant nature this whole time. I continued as this goes on to show more stuff, more offenses, and she never properly made up for any of it. So a man tests for 2 things like King Solomon does. He doesn't give a shit about what you're saying and what you're doing. He checks what your behavior is underlying, that you're subconsciously doing that you can't control. He will judge you by that, number 1. And number 2, he's going to look to see if you've paid the price of atonement, because that equals the price of the sin you did. Then you can have a standing and trial in court. Okay? You have to pay the price of admission. So, what did we learn earlier? Measure for measure. That's the strict justice, severe judgment when you foreclose upon your own ability to merit grace because of your own stupid actions. You see how obvious it is? Extremely obvious. So, now we have a letter. How long was my mother playing fucking games with me before she would give me a letter? How long did I say? 13 months? Okay. So I realized when I got this letter, okay, now we're going to see if my mom actually is sorry. So right on the day that I got this letter, I said, it's going to be very easy to decide. Okay? First, I'm going to take this and I'm going to toss it to the side. I'm not opening it. If she comes back later and writes and says, John, did you get to open my letter yet? Please read it. And I give her no response, because that's the same thing she did to me many times. And then she writes again, John, really, did you read the letter? And then this time, after 2 or 3 times of her mentioning it, finally, I say the following. She writes to me a few days ago, how are you? And did you, did you get the letter I gave you a few weeks ago? Okay, so let's see. We're going to find out right now if she's a sorry woman or if she's an arrogant woman. If she really is sorry, and she responds to the following in the appropriate way, I'll say, okay, she seems to actually have a substantive merit that's underlying the show of the charade or the masquerade at the level of forms. Maybe it's not a masquerade. Maybe okay, I'll open it. I would open it that same week. But if not, no. Then you must pay measure for measure. Strict, severe judgment. You made me wait 13 months. How would you like? People like you only learn this way, when the same thing is done back to you. In the Bible it says, people who are scorners, scoffers, and mockers, don't rebuke them, because rebuke doesn't work. Only giving them the strict punishment back, measure for measure, and or beating them are the only 2 acceptable ways, whichever one is fit for the situation contextually. There's the only thing that breaks through to their psychiatric wiring. Everything else is just not, they'll just mock you back to your face again, and they'll continue to disregard you, and God hates it when you permit others to disregard you because you don't know yourself how to meta-manage like God would. God wants you to be as God, or made in His image, that you function as an extension of how He functions is man's job. Different. So I respond like this. Key to note. This is now October 2024. This is just last week. I said to her, the letter's still unopened, lying around somewhere. That's all I wrote. Now, if you're a woman who's actually supposedly really sorry, because you asked about this letter earlier in this recording, you said, well, maybe she really is sorry. How do you know? This is how I know. Watch her response and grade it with your reaction, your judgment, to see, does she merit to have a grace given to her, or merit strict judgment, strict din? Tell me now. Because she responds and says, that's weird. Why didn't you open it? Tell us, grace or judgment? That's weird. Does that sound like she's sorry? Oh, but also, consider getting my help. Which is another side issue I haven't touched upon so much, but this is part of the domination programming. You're dysfunctional. You're a little boy. You're the defective one. You see, defective people don't have standing. This is trying to break you down. Instead of building your children up, building your son to be men, you try to break them down. Opposite programming. But God designed this for a reason, for bigger plans. Does this sound like someone who's genuinely regretful of what they did? Or does it sound like someone who wants to control the situation?
Well, I have no idea what she's talking about, because the information is in there.
Regarding the meriting of whether I am obligated morally to open her letter is the thing in question. She made me wait 14 months. Now you wait 14 months. I don't need to know what's in your letter to know that you, as the mother in this situation, don't deserve to have your letters read as soon as you feel I should have to read them, because you didn't regard me when you promised me that I would have the right to receive your letter originally, when you then disregarded me, that you shat on my expectations for 14 months. Except that if you were actually really truly sorry with repentance, I would revert and I would say, okay, she really seems sorry at the level of substance, not at the level of form. Then I'll understand that she really is making a true correction towards God. I'll open it now and help her quickly to move even further towards redemption. Good. You see? King Solomon will judge based on your reaction. Now I have to bring up the story again. 2 women come before King Solomon. One of them rolled over in their sleep and killed the baby. So one of them wakes up, sees the baby that's dead, and the other one's alive, but they look similar. So now there's 2 women who slept in the same room with each of their babies, and one of them's dead, one of them's alive. They said, the other one killed my baby. One of them really has a dead baby. One of them killed my baby. The other one's the child of the other one. And the other one says, no, that's, this one is, whatever the hell it was. We all remember the story, okay? I've analyzed this much more deeply on this playlist before in other videos too, okay? I understand the story. I'm just a little brain twisted now, okay? But the point is this. Each of them were pretending to be the victim of the situation. One of them was true victim, one of them was masquerading. Why do you think this is the biggest theme in the Bible? King Solomon, the wisest of all kings, says, okay, so I'm going to cut the baby in half. Not because you actually wanted to cut the baby in half, but because you're going to watch how you react to see what your heart really is. I cut the real baby in half. Oh my God, don't cut my baby. Okay, give it to her at least so that my baby will live. I'll give up the baby. The other one says, sure, cut it in half, because now I got my justice. Because a twisted woman's idea of justice is actually twisted. But they can't see the twist of themselves. First you want to masquerade a dead baby, and then you think killing the other one in half is just as fine too. It's all sick. These people have a fucking devil in them. So that's how you see, as a Solomon level judge, it doesn't matter what's in here. I already got everything I needed to know from here. That's weird. Shaming you. Putting you down. Now let me get more control. I'm looking at the essence of the energy of what you're doing to determine who you are. If you're going, let me put you down, let me remind you how low you are, now let me come in as your savior dominating you, you're the same sicko that you were in the beginning. Why would I accept it? Okay, so now I have to pay strict din, measure for measure. What's the atonement price? You made me wait 14 months for this letter? Why would I satisfy you immediately? You will wait 14 months. Because why? That's justice. Why does God like this? Because God says, she didn't realize to apologize to you for making you wait 14 months, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 14 months disrespecting you. And the whole time she wasn't sorry for this. If she was, you would have seen it in substance way before or outside of this letter anyway. This doesn't have a sealed magic chamber of the real apology, and out here she's being a bitch. No, the inner always matches the outer. Okay? This is how the real judge sees. This is God level seeing. So, we continue. Basically, in a simplistic sense, it's aligned with the correct administration of his truth. So, we continue. In essence, God says, but he knows that these types understand when they feel it. Okay? When a bully comes in the playground and he starts pushing you, hey, you're stupid, he starts hitting you on the head, does rebuking him work? That was wrong. You caused this person a lot of discomfort and indignation. You are bad for this. Have remorse now, bully. Have remorse. Shame. Does it work? No, they go, ha ha ha, no, you're stupid. And they smack you again. Rebuke doesn't make them realize that they fucked up. What actually makes them realize? When your friend, who's the same size of the bully, goes and gives him the same beating on his head that he was giving you. Because once he feels the same experience that he was giving to you, then he realized he doesn't like being treated like that. Ah, exactly. You don't like being treated like this, but this is what you were doing to the other person. Ah, so now you understand. It's like forcing your hemispheres to merge. Ah, now you understand what it is to do that to somebody. Only once it's done to you did you learn it. Yeah, you didn't like that, did you? You don't like having your letter sit here not opened. Ah, this is exactly what you're doing to me for 14 months. And for 2 years with this whole overarching situation since October 2022, what happened on October 9th. And then from beyond, because it's for years of things not apologized for. All gaslighting. The judgment is clear already. Do you see what I'm saying? She has to, and she's saying, she's shaking her head yes. She's seeing a little bit more clearly, my lovely girl here. So I'm going to show you one more thing, and then it will be even clearer. In response to this, I'm going to show you word for word the email I wrote in response to this, because this is the teaching time now. Here we go. In response to what she wrote here, I wrote the following. So, and I'm going to perform this with you. I want you to be in the shoes, in the position of my mother, and go to her mind and sit the way she was. Imagine what she's doing. You don't know every deepest detail, but you have the summary sort of what's going on, okay? You have some rough idea, kind of what you want for the situation, what you want for the son. But here you are, you're trying to make some kind of showing. Is it a fake showing? Is it a real showing? We continue. I say to her the following. So, now, after a few weeks or so of this letter hanging in the midst, unread and unopened, there's a feeling that the expectation that you had, Mom, which is a reasonable expectation when all else is held constant, that expectation is an expectation that's been unmet, to your disappointment. That's why, of course, as a side note, she says, oh, he hasn't opened my letter for a few weeks. That's weird, huh? You're weird. No, stupid. You're paying. Don't you fucking get it? And if you don't love to pay, that only prolongs how much strict of the payment it has to be. The day you love how much you're paying is the day the payment eases off. Gevura! Chesed and din, figure it out. I continue to write to her. I say, you even have the urge to reply last time to me with, that's weird to me. So I remind her, say, maybe now then, you are exactly, finally starting to experience the real problem and the real offense that it was when you initially promised me a letter of this kind all the way back 14 months ago. You see what you are doing to people? I'm doing the same thing back to you so that you can learn how fucking terrible it is what you're doing to people. I would need, me speaking about myself, I'm saying I would need more than 2 hands to count how many times you, Mom, promised or insisted to me or to Anthony, how many times you had this letter ready, you're going to give it, and then you default again. I'll give it to you by this weekend. Nothing. Oh, I'll give it to you by this day. Nothing. I'll give it to you by this weekend. Nothing. Could you imagine doing that 10 times over? In grouped waves, pluralized over 3 sets of waves lasting over 14 months? You fucking out of your fucking mind? You sick people? Would you do this to your would you do this to anybody? No. I write to her, I would need more than 2 hands to count how many times you promised or insisted to either me or Anthony that you definitely had the letter prepared. You would, and then what did you do? Time and time again, you just recklessly failed to provide it. Again and again. Continuing, I say this, you did this over and over. And then, without explanation or apology of any kind, keep this in mind. You did this over and over, and then, without explanation, without an apology, you don't provide one. You don't even say, I'm sorry. You just say, What? Die, basically. Spiritually, die. Then, continuing, you came back around a few months later and started saying again, oh, for the letter, we'll bring the letter again. And then again, multiple waves of promises. Again, I was the stupid one because I even allow you the opportunity to continue possibly giving me a letter. You don't get it? And then a third wave, and then more delays. So, I continue and write to her, something is wrong with your psycho-emotional calibration because you appeared for 14 months to be unable to feel and understand what it is that you are doing and how insane, frustrating, and offensive this is to the person in my position, how much it hurts to receive what this is. The disrespect is the same pain as if I were to take a knife to kill you in your face and cut you here now. It's so horrifying, you can't even normally imagine it. It's extreme. That's how extreme it is to make a little gesture against a man. It's that same extreme as a real gas burning of a flesh for anyone else. That's right. People online go by, one of the largest experts on this, Dr. Emerson Eggerichs. I've featured snippets of his videos and things you've seen before in separate videos. He explains this clearly. Continuing. So I go on to write to her. So now, after only a few weeks of me having this letter thrown somewhere to the corner, proverbially, figuratively speaking, but literally, it was just lying around, and then I appear to forget, I simply ask her, because this is teaching time, you don't like this feeling, do you? Remember, this is happening within the context of what? All this, she's already wrong, and what do wrongdoers owe in the general sense? You must be really sorry. When you're really sorry, not a single aspect of non-sorry can come out of you. If any arrogant defensiveness comes out, you rat on yourself. You are cut off from God immediately. You will never be tolerated or considered after that. But please open my letter now, I tell you. No, this is part of the fact that you're being shown that you are not to be considered. You have to learn how low you are by being put into the low. Put you exactly where you put me before. Because when you hate where you are, you connect that to how you see that I hated that same thing when you did it to me, except I deserve to hate it by merit. You shouldn't even be hating it, because in context you should love to pay. That's what God says. You see how it all connects here? Everything transconnects now correctly. You are all the ones who make this a difficult world here for yourselves. People do it only to themselves by their own stupidities. Continuing. I now ask, you don't like this feeling, do you? I ask this and I put it in italics because it's designed to make her brain realize, oh, I don't like it, but if she has any empathy left to go, oh my God, that's how he felt. Oh my God, I really am sorry. Fuck. Oh, and then the guilt should hit her heart. Ooh, I'm guilty. And really, I am guilty, she should feel. And she would write back to this. How would she write back to this? If a normal person were in her shoes, or if you were to receive something like this, when you realize, wow, like, that's what I was doing, this should be like a refreshing moment of rebuke. It's like, I really realize what you're saying, son. I'm really sorry. I really regret that I waited that long. Please. Imagine if she wrote something like this to me, I'd say, okay, she's really getting it. All right. And now we go back to grace and mercy. See? So who decides whether she gets grace and mercy here? Ultimately. Who is the one who decides whether she gets grace or mercy here? Not trying to manipulate the man of the situation. It will never work in God's new world. No man will be left where any manipulation ever works, ever. Because he will be perfectly on God's AI line. You won't even have the possibility of misunderstanding what to do in any given situation. And so what? man becomes as effective in judging everything within his life and around him as God is, perfectly. Then woman goes, oh, I can never believe that the manipulation attempt will ever work. All I have is to kill myself about it, but energetically, because then the phoenix rises, which is, now I am Chava again. I killed Lilith again and arose from that death. I needed man to kill me by his ruthlessness to reteach me how to live. That's the cycle of rebirth. You have to replay spiritual cosmic death over and over again in a kind of way, where ostracism is you being killed off from a person's life and your connection with them over and over again. Does she show herself as meriting connection or bullshit? And to note, I don't want to record her face right now, but if you could imagine her face, she has the most pensive look of just considering this. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. She is wondering and thinking profound things right now. We continue. I go on to explain to her so that she can get it. It looks like a taste of your own medicine is what could be the only thing that actually permits you to learn what it really is that you've been doing. And now here, do you agree with this? At least as a general principle. Is there not a point where at some point a taste of your own medicine is the only thing that works? Measure for measure, would you say? What do you think?
It's too complicated.
Well, tell me. I want to hear more about what you're saying. So it's very complicated for her because she's getting a lot of information, a lot of new information for over 2 hours now. So it's a lot for her to even keep track of. But you understand this situation,
Yeah.
the essence of it. So what do you think so far? If she's being like this, is it not more just that she gets a taste of her own medicine, or that we keep on going, oh yes, mommy, oh yes, mommy, oh yes, mommy, forever, until the immunity monster, she becomes so much of a monster because we keep reinforcing the monster? Who's really serving God? God curses me if I permit the growing of monsters around me, even if that monster is a mother. I must kill the monster of a mother off, spiritually, energetically speaking, rather than enable the growth of a further monster. And make no mistake, I've been tracking how she's been fundamentally treating me over 20 years, 15 years, 10 years, most recent, is worse monster towards me, worse monster towards me, worse monster towards me. 12 years ago, she wouldn't not speak to me for 2 years. Now, not speak to me for 2 years. It's just worse. Why? Because you reinforce certain pathological behaviors as acceptable so that she sees, oh, she is reinforcement towards more destructiveness. So if I don't read her letter for 14 months, yeah, I know it sucks in like a kind of way, but I have to, because this makes her less capable of ever in the future allowing herself to become guilty of the same thing again to me. That's everything. That is every fucking thing ever. Nothing is fucking ever. That is the heart of God. It's in that fact right there. There you have the center of the universe. It's there. And nowhere else. It's in you dying for your shit so that you can reborn again in new fucking wisdom and understanding of how fucked up you were. Puh. By paying. Yes. Good, you're saying that's weird. Hate yourself every day you boil. Then you'll fucking know to never try it again. Learn how to treat a God King correctly. You pieces of shit. And there is a deep heart truth to that. It sounds a little almost verging on halfway silly, yet deeply true nevertheless, because it's expositive of the real heart of man, always. You humans are the ones twisting the violations. God is hating it. Exactly right. Now you really believe when I say God hates this shit. He hates anyone who's responsible for permitting human beings to go like this further and further. Love to pay. I'm going to continue reviewing the rest of this email. You say to me that's weird, Mom, when you are on the receiving end of the same kind of treatment that you were giving me. But then I ask, why couldn't you self-assess at this time now, so that you would also naturally, hopefully, feel just as convincingly that this is just as weird what you were doing to me when you were the one who was doing this same thing to me or worse. I go on to explain. People who lack empathic neural wiring, that is cluster B personality disorder types, generally speaking, that's correct, are, and this is also correct, the only ones who feel the same type of problem as being a problem, not when they do it to other people, these are abusers, but only when they are the ones who received it back to themselves, measure for measure. These types, however, as it goes on to say, they almost never feel the problem or the true magnitude of what they're really doing when the same equation is happening, but in reverse. When you're doing it to others and giving them discomfort and pain, you're blind to it. You're an idiot. That's what God wants to destroy. That's the spirit of Amalek. So I continue to explain to her, do you realize that normal people are just as inclined to feel discomforted and ashamed, whether it's they themselves are experiencing something or whether it's someone else that they're doing it to? That's why normal people have a conscience. It's called a conscience. You don't do that to someone else, and if you do and you realize it's wrong, you feel bad about it. Does my mom look like she feels bad about it? This is the King Solomon test now. This whole email, as you've been hearing it read, is the test. Because if she sees this, she sees, wow, you know what? My son was right to not open it. I needed to learn this lesson, and I've thought, and I've realized that, yeah, now that he hasn't read it, and I realized that it was, initially felt bad, but I realized that's what I did to him. Oh my God, of course. Fuck, I do regret that now that I realize what the pain was that I was causing him, because I'm receiving that same pain. So now I feel really sorry. I really feel bad. So now my only obligation, my duty, I cannot fake anything. I really have to let him know I really know I messed up. I'm really sorry. And I have an email button. Writing letters. Why is she writing a physical letter? She's emailed for me for months. She could write her letter in an email here. This is all mind twistedness. It's all sicko shit. These people never think correctly. So, that's why they're all like this, of course. So, thank you. She begins to, this was what a normal woman would do in her position. She'd say, oh my God, and she would write back. She would do what? She'd go here to the reply button, wherever it is here, and go, you're right. I really have thought about what you wrote here. It's completely realized to me. I really am sorry. I want to ask you a question here. Do you remember the last time we got into a little problem, a little fight?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you write back to me something?
Yeah.
Did you tell me that you were sorry?
Yeah.
And how sorry were you really in your heart?
Deeply sorry.
I could see that in the words, is what I'm saying.
Mm.
That's why I didn't make you pay the strict price of strict atonement. Do you see? I saw from your text, you were even writing to me, look, I really, really sorry. I really am. And in your wording, I saw she means it here. Immediately, what did I do? Did I make you pay and suffer? What kind of man was I? Immediately, we've restored. And how's things been for the last few days, several days and more? Do you see this? Yeah, this is a real man. When you in your spirit have the capacity to have the real repentance and regret and the shame, and you confess this to the person, you are immediately brought in, expedited. You have a regular passport application, you have an expedited passport application. Expedited. God says expedite. Through what? Tshuva. Real tshuva brings you like this, and you were even higher than you were before. because you show that you have the capacity to be faced with some wrong problem, but you then overcome it, and you're even stronger in a sense. This is the beautiful thing, and we're here today, and these things are melting away in the rearview mirror, because that's how life goes. But here, we're going to look at what her response is here. I continue to write to her. Furthermore, so I explained to her, then I say, you didn't get it when you were doing this to me. You insulted me, in essence, for 14 months with this games, like I'm a mouse with a carrot on a stick. Here's a letter. No, here's a letter. Go where I want you to. Do what I want. Control addiction. Is he doing what I want him to do? Maybe I'll give him. Maybe I want him. Go, like I'm a fucking animal. That's playing games with someone. Are you serious? You promise someone to something once and you don't do it, you will be taken to the San Francisco Bridge. Jump off now. Die. You're nothing. You never were anything. Once in your life, once. In the age of Moshiach, strict justice will rule the whole world. All the rabbis for thousands of years have this promise. So they say Jesus kind of is the age of, in a kind of way, it's the age of grace, but they say the age of grace is going to end. And God promised this even before Jesus came. He said, after 6,000 years, which is now, literally like this year, last year, they said we transitioned into 6,000 if you adjust the correct count on the calendar. So they said now exactly is when God changes the whole world from the last graces are going to be gone. That's okay. One pinky toe is out of line once, you die. One thing problem, you die. And then humanity will learn because they themselves created what? Look outside. It's the corrupted world around us. Resuming the end of this email, I say, do you need to pay? And this is the important part here. Do you need to pay for the same amount of time, Mom? Do you need to pay for 14 months of being disregarded? I will open this in 14 months so that you paid in time what I paid. Yeah? Is this what should happen? Or should I wait another 13 months or so before I open this letter finally? I ask her again, after a dozen or so disingenuous assertions that I may be about to open it. Should I even do that to her? Okay, I'll open it tomorrow and I'll lie to her. I'm not going to purposely lie. But see? Or finally do I ask? And this is how I close the email. So you can see really what the truth is. Or do you finally actually get, for the first time ever, now because I'm actually doing to you what you're doing to me, so I don't want to have to do that. I have to hold that till the end. You see? Until you are so twisted that you make the situation go like that. But then anytime you have the genuine transformation in the inside of the spirit, reborn of spirit, that's called Christian ideology is the same way. Did you get reborn of the spirit? No, then you're still corrupt. Same principle. Yeah? Do you finally actually get how messed up this was, what you've done? I left this email with this question. Why? Because the point is, if she answers, that's the tone I left it on. So that when the email ends, that's the last thing I left her with in her mind. So that's the last question that's continuing to resonate after she closes his email. Because that's the first thing that you would naturally answer when you now begin to reply. Because I'm making it as easy as possible so that she could actually have the real transformation of spirit, so that she could come back and say, yes, you're right, son. I did realize how messed up it was. And I'm sorry, and it's like, okay, so let's do this then. And I'll open it and I'll read it and we'll go from there to see if the merit is actually here. But for now, so before earlier, you conflated the merit of what's in here with the merit of your atonement price. But your atonement price has to be separate from this. Every layer is individual. You must pay. Atonement price, repentance. You people need class on this and they don't teach you this in public school because we're destroying this world. So if we don't teach them in public school, we'll help them destroy themselves faster. It's just that simple. Because they need what? To be taught how to really do it. And they didn't figure it out for themselves. So destroy even quicker because you're too stupid to preserve yourselves. Returning to this. Now I say, like King Solomon again, we're going to look back to how she replied to this. And do you know how she replied? Do you know how? Oh, this was her only fucking reply back. I showed you this in the beginning. This is how I started off this video, where you first saw this and said, oh, John, are you harming your mother? Remember that?
Yeah.
I planned this whole trip and journey we've had here in advance. That's how God works. He brings you in the pre-planned circle. You are dead and he is alive. Now, when you're brought back full scope around to see this again, does this look like the same game? Does this look like, oh, this is a situation where John is harming his mother? Or does this look like this is the sickest and stupidest thing that the mother could be sending here? You see this?
She's just getting your attention.
That's right. That's all she's trying to do. She's just trying to play with the wires.
Okay.
Yep. This is disgusting to this girl. She's crying about it all next to me. She says she's just trying to... She's not paying the price. She's not doing what she's supposed to do. She's just trying to manipulate. Basically is what you're inferring. Isn't that right? In a sense. And it's okay. She's already been written off for a long time, and she could never earn her way back unless she realizes that she's genuinely in the wrong, which would mean that you're absolutely in the right, you personally, for seeing the same thing I'm seeing. And in any other case, you wouldn't be ever involved in my life again, ever. So don't worry. You can just speak freely, because this is disgusting, and I've enshrined that this be moved to this point, and there's a witness. Again, a third witness. I'm tired of being abused. Does this constitute abuse, being given messages like this? To a man in my position? Or should I love this? No, she's shaking her head no. I shouldn't love this, should I? So if you're a mother who's sending her sons emails that they shouldn't love, who the fuck are you? You're no mother. I think you've driven the point home enough for now. But so that we really spice things up, I'm going to have my lovely witness here take a close look at the original email that my mom wrote to me by email, because we can really essentially imply that what is in here, which I have not opened yet, still sealed, is basically a rough extension of the kind of vibe that she initially tried to put across 14 months ago in the email apology there. We see no indication that anything's changed. It's the same manipulative nature at the level of substance, but at the level of form, let's take a look. So now, since I mentioned that my witness has not even seen any of these videos on the playlist, she's going to take a close look at the apology email of my mom. She'll get a close look at what the deal is, and then she'll add her own final word when she's seen that, and we'll leave it at that. So this is my response to the situation, which my mom will see, because I'm not even going to respond to this email directly. You're in default, except I'll simply send a link to this video. This video is my response. You're wrong. You're at fault. You still continue to be wrong. And moreover, I'll add one more detail. And so I let my lovely witness here know. 4 months ago, when my mom came up again and said, "Hey, John, can I just apologize to you? Can I have a meeting with you?" I said, "You can't have a meeting until you apologize to me and you realize that you were wrong for canceling the other meetings. Do you realize it was wrong to cancel the other meetings?" She did not reply. She did not admit that she was wrong for doing any of that. So, of course, I said, I can't meet with you, stupid. What the hell do you think this is? Crazy game? God hates this shit. Hates you. You can't twist. When I have clear vision, you can't twist. You play games. Manipulative bullshit. So, at around that time, she also, this was what was going on back and forth. But I said to her, anyway, I said, okay, if you really want to be considered, you have to pay the atonement price. So, let's go back for a second. So, I prepared this whole playlist, remember, almost 2 years ago. I've been adding into it regularly for almost 2 years. Each time I'm adding, thinking, this last one will finally be the message before she gets it. And then we get to have a normal family again. This last one finally will be the normal one where she listens, go, oh my God, I had my breakthrough today. How about here? Had my breakthrough today. Had my breakthrough today. How about, no, there's never any breakthroughs with the defunctos. This whole thing, this is crazy. But consider, when I put all this effort into this, and by the way, she has watched through all of these at least once, from years ago, and possibly skim through again. So, as I'm going on here, I want to ask this girl a question here. Why do you think I am posting these videos, explaining my side of the story, and basically, you hear how I'm talking? Basically, all these other videos is similar to how I'm talking now with this video we're making now, is like what all these other videos are, at all their respective points in time. Explaining, showing, teaching. Explaining, showing, teaching. Why do you think I'm making all these?
To make her reflect on her actions.
That's right. Number one, to make her reflect on her actions. And number two, for me to also get validation in essence. Or at least, if her reflection causes her to realize the closer to the truth, that closer to the truth is the correct validation. That is what? The nourishment for me. The victim is a human being. Always remember this, people. So she denies both when she continues to do what? Respond with nothing. So I told her a few months ago, I said, okay, so since you didn't get it before, a few months ago back in the summer of 2024, I told her over email, which I have saved, obviously, I said, look, if you rewatch all of these videos again on your own time and take a couple months to do so, maybe watch an hour or two per day, go through all of them again, take a month or two, and then you do all that, then I will consider beholding anything else that you might have to say. Apology, a letter, and all this. I put that, therefore, officially as part of the atonement price. This was put forward clearly, and I made it unconditional, where I said, there's no condition where you don't watch these videos, but I continue to participate in any paradigm. So not only for that reason that we've described that she shows herself to be inauthentic, but besides this, she has the audacity to put this letter under my door and then expect that I jump to the beat of her beat drum, where she didn't even make any indication that she watched these again. But why would I insist that she watches these all over again? Why do you think? Why would I want someone in her position who's clearly doesn't have a clue still how to live life fundamentally, most fundamentally? I want you to watch this again. If you have as a kid who's failing in school so far that he's failed the grade, does the kid who failed the grade have to retake the grade?
No.
Does the kid? Oh, she's not doing it. I'll ask. If someone has a grade and they failed the grade at school, do they have to take the grade over again? Or do they get to just continue on to the next grade? Or do they get just they don't have to go to school anymore? They can do whatever they want, right? No, you have to take the same courses over again. Why? Because they know that you went through it once, maybe you didn't get what you were supposed to get, but you got a little bit of exposure, and then you're going to go a second time. It's like watching a movie 2 times in a row, where the second time you watch the movie, you get more than what you saw the first time. Isn't that true? So when you're learning something, we're hoping that you go a second time because we want you to learn something new so you can finally understand that you're wrong. But only one type of person in this world will refuse to do it. Is what? Is the person who doesn't want to be wrong. You see the problem? So you ruin yourselves in this life. If you don't want to be wrong, that's what makes you even more wrong. Yours condemned. Goodbye.